Okay, first leg of the trip. We went to the Everglades National Park. Jess Belfry and I both tackled the national park. It is massive. It's like 1.3 million acres, I think, give or take. Jess is actually in the Gulf Coast area of the Everglades, and we are down at the very, very tip, like right before you get to Cuba, of the Everglades. So, we are staying at a campground called the Flamingo Campground. Now, for all of my families who travel with disabilities, this may or may not be the campground for you. Y'all know me by now, and I can hang with some of the best, but boondocking's not my jam. And this is as close to boondocking as I ever wanted to get. So the Flamingo Campground, the great thing about it is it is at the very tip of the Everglades. So you're like knee deep in it. And the other good thing about it is I've never seen lots this big. Like, I'm over exaggerating, but I swear to you, you have like a half-acre lot to each RV section. They are huge, which is great for us because we're traveling with 2 dogs. But plenty of space for those who like privacy, like my veterans or my first responders, those with PTSD who don't like a lot of people around. This campground is for you. Plenty of privacy, plenty of space. You're not, shaking your neighbor's hand through the window, how a lot of the campgrounds are. So the only issue is you do not have a dumping station at your RV site. You do not have water at your RV site. The only thing you have is electricity. They do have a section there where you can pull your camper up and fill up your bladder or your freshwater tank. They also have a dumping station. One thing we found that the dumping station was either not put in correctly or put in strategically. I'm not exactly sure, because the dumping station, it tilts away from the dumping station, so you can't actually get your RV completely empty. So either that was strategically done or wear and tear over time. Either way, creates a little bit of an issue. Other than that, though, the campground is ran by a company called Flamingo Adventures. Everybody there was super nice. Like I said, we had dogs. We met some amazing people along the way. Of course, everybody asked us about Gunner because he's not normal, I guess, to see a big Great Pyrenees out in the Everglades. So we met a lot of people. Made some really good friends. We met some couples from Hawaii and from Alaska. They were amazing as well. And right now, we met some teachers from, I think, California. I'm not exactly sure. But we've been talking to everybody about what we do and what our mission is. On our first day at Flamingo, we went and met with a park agent. His name was Ryan Moya. He's been there about 2 months. He was super excited about his job, super into the Everglades, gave us all the background, all the information. I do have to say, we've ended up talking to about 3 park rangers or park services employees there, and every single one of them knew their service dog laws and regulations. They knew exactly what to say. They knew exactly what questions to ask. They were super accommodating on anything that we needed. So that was a plus when dealing with park services. Now, let's talk a little bit about service dogs. Okay, the Everglades are, if you pull up a pamphlet from the section that we were in, not where Jess was, but the section where we were, it says absolutely no pets on the trails. Now, we saw a lot of folks with pets. Yeah, we did. But it says no pets on the trail. So I had an in-depth conversation with the park services about service dogs, where we could go, because as most of you know, I'm a big advocate for service animals. I'm a big advocate for disability rights, but I also want to make sure that everybody's safe. And from my perspective, Park Services made it very clear that yes, they understand the laws and rights to service animals. However, their recommendations for this specific area was more for the safety and well-being of both you and the animal. Now, I know that we have some people that follow our page that are service dog advocates, and they're like, I know my rights and I'm going for it. Sometimes you need to step back and think about that a minute, because you're talking about your safety and your well-being as well as your dog, and we don't want to put your service animal ever in danger. And Park Services was really expressing to me their frustration, because the reason why they have a rule that says no pets allowed on trails is because people, and I'm not putting anyone down, but people who have well-trained pets ignore the laws, and then they take their pets out on the trails, and then they take their leashes off and they just let them run. Well, okay, an alligator or a crocodile, both of which are down here, all you're ever going to hear, in fact, the park ranger said it perfectly. He said, all you're going to hear is a snap, some twigs moving, and a splash, and you'll never see your dog again. That's a scary situation. So when we were having that conversation, I point blank asked and said, okay, where can we take our service dogs? And Ryan told us of 3 trails that he thoroughly enjoyed. I can't say them very well, but Powhatan, I think, is one of the trails. Antigua or Royal Palms was one of the trails. And Mahogany Hammock, I think, was the 3rd trail. Mahogany Hammock and the Powhatan, or however you say that, trail, both were raised up trails that had the wooden decking that you could walk on. They were both short distances. They both had handicap accessible signs on them. We did take Gunner and Coda, had no problem. Now, Royal Palm, or Antigua, however you say that, that one was pretty interesting. There's a lot of wildlife out there. In fact, we were walking the dogs, and the park services are on it. We got stopped by 2 different park services people asking us, is it a service dog? All their correct questions, what tasks does it perform, making sure that we had all of our stuff together. So I was really impressed with that. The only issue I would say is that Park Services relies on a lot of volunteers. So outside of the actual Park Services staff, the volunteers probably need additional education, at least in this specific area, because they mean well. Bless their hearts, they totally mean well. But we got stopped by several volunteers, and I heard everything from, well, I don't understand why you have to have 2 service dogs. Well, your service dogs aren't vested. They're required to be vested. No, they're not. I had one gentleman tell me, well, you can't have your service dogs out here because they're not high up on the food chain. And I said, well, sir, that doesn't really apply, but I appreciate your concern. However, I will say this. He was coming from a good place, because we rounded the corner on that Royal Palms trail, and when I tell you that there was a gator 3.5 feet from me and Gunner, I'm not exaggerating. Like, we had to stop on the trail and let it pass, because my heart was beating. Gunner was like, ooh, what's that? And I'm thinking, oh God, no. So we had to stop, but there were 2 different times where we were within 3 feet of a crocodile or alligator. And it was very nerve-wracking. So even though the volunteers meant well, they were making statements that were not accurate. So they probably need a little bit more education. But as far as the park services, like paid staff, they knew what they were doing, and they were super professional and super helpful. Other than that, that's pretty much all we could do. The only activities in the area where we were staying, again, Jess is in a different area, the only thing you could do was go canoeing or go hiking. There really wasn't any fishing there. You could go bird watching or bike riding. And, so it's not a whole lot to do. So if you're wanting a very, very slow-paced trip, or you just want to get outdoors, this is the place to be. However, if you're looking for stuff to entertain your family, you might look elsewhere, because it's not going to have much, at least from our perspective, it doesn't have much for you to do. And the Flamingo Campground is an hour's drive inland from the gate where you enter the Everglades. So you're really out in the middle of nowhere. But again, it is quiet. It is super peaceful. And we did enjoy our time there. But that's just sort of a summary of our trip so far. And I'm going to get back on here and do another video and talk about some other interesting things that have happened. But I really want to talk about the trails and the National Park Service and how supportive they were with our service animals. Talk about how maybe the volunteers need a little bit more what you can say, what you can't say kind of stuff. But other than that, everything was wonderful on our trip. And it's beautiful. And we couldn't have been more blessed. The high was 78 degrees. The low was 57 degrees. I haven't cut my air conditioner on not one time. We slept with the windows open. The mosquitoes are horrible. So make sure you roll in some kind of mosquito spray 24/7. But other than that, we had a blast. So, all right, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.